first week of the new year, and a lot of people's goals that they decide to set usually revolve around abundance of some sort, usually relating to money. Now, I used to have a really poor money mindset, and I was aware of it, and I realised that it was holding me back. So I did some things that completely sort of rejigged that money mindset. And when I say I had a terrible money mindset, it was bad. I would walk an extra 15 minutes to go to a different shop just because I knew that the oat milk was 20p cheaper. And I know that 20p's add up over time. And my excuse was that it was great because I got extra exercise and I could walk there and the fresh air was good for me. But sometimes it would actually mean that I was late to get somewhere, or it would just be overwhelming stress if I knew that I would have to get food on the go and there wasn't anything cheap that I could eat, and I'd stress myself out over it. So it was, I can't remember the exact date, but it was in 2022, the beginning of 2022, I believe. I decided that my money mindset needed to change, something needed to shift. I was constantly saying, I can't afford this, even though I could. I was constantly complaining about money and focusing on that which I didn't have. And overall, I was just smart enough and self-aware enough to know that if I stressed less about my finances, then I'd probably end up being richer in both happiness, health, and finances. So I decided to do some work. I started reading Jen Sincero's You're a Badass at Making Money, and that is step one of how I changed my money mindset. I actually don't have the book on my bookshelf because I've lent it to so many different people because it helped me. I don't need it anymore. When you learn something, as nice as it is to keep the books as a memory of what you went through and what you overcame, but one of the even better ways to use that book or that resource is to pass it on. Sincero's book reminded me what I already knew. I already knew that the language that we use to describe things and talk about things, whether out loud or in our own heads, has such an impact on how we see the world. But it hadn't quite clicked with money. So if anything, what her book really taught me was to change my language. So I started catching myself every time I felt I was talking about lack at all. Every time I said I can't afford this. Every time I said, no, that's too much. Every time I commented on not even the finances, but the quantity of something, my ability to buy it or achieve it, I would catch myself. And honestly, if you're having trouble with your money mindset, I would really encourage you to go and buy that book. Secondly, I did something every single day, without fail, that I keep saying it's the most important tip, but this genuinely, when you do something small every single day, it makes changes. It makes neural changes in your neural network that creates a whole new path. It's pretty much like how if you go for a walk, you'll follow the beaten track, right? And that's what happens in your brain. There is a clear path for something that your neurons know to take, know to fire in that direction, down that path, when a certain situation happens, because you've taken it all the times before, and your beliefs and your ideas around that thing support that direction. But when you start to change your beliefs, change your habits, change the choice that you're making, that path stops being used. And so it's not the chosen path anymore. When you start walking consistently down this new path, it will eventually become like clockwork. It will become an autopilot and you won't see that other one anymore. But it requires consciousness. It requires you to recognize that that needs to happen, that you need to make that change. And requires doing this thing that I'm about to tell you every single day. If you do this, let me know. I did it for, I think it was between 30 and 40 days straight. And again, it completely changed everything for me. So what you're gonna do is every evening before you go to sleep, so you're in bed, you get your journal, you get your notebook, and what you're gonna do is you're going to write a list or a mind map of every single thing you've achieved in that very day. So every day, at the end of the day, you're gonna write down everything you've achieved. But I don't just mean things or money, I mean phone calls, messages from friends, comments from strangers. I mean, kind words that people say to you, achievements or things accomplished within work, anything that you've achieved, any kind of win or gain or experience that you've accomplished. And again, if you do this enough times, it will work wonders, I'm telling you. Number 3, in the first week that I started doing all of this work and all of the things that I'm suggesting that you try and do, my MacBook broke. Yep. And I was pretty good. Within that first week, I'd already started getting pretty good at not seeing things as a bad thing, especially related to finances. So I thought, it's fine. So I thought, you know what, this is exciting. Get to go and get a brand new Mac. I'll have a look on the Apple Store and see which one I'd like. I went on, and it seems that between the time that I bought a Mac last and the time when I was needing to buy one then, they'd shot up in price by a lot. So I had not realised, but it was going to be about £1,000. £1,000 of my hard-earned money. And I've got to be honest, I burst into tears. Although I was lucky enough to have the savings and have the money with which to use to buy this thing that I really needed, I was so emotional that one little issue with my laptop meant that I could no longer use it and I was going to be out £1,000. There was something so deep and so emotional about that experience that it just, without even thinking any major thoughts about it being unfair or me having less money, it hit something so deep and so ingrained in me about the fact that having to spend money is a bad thing that I just broke down. I was so upset. I was probably pretty upset for about 10-15 minutes, and I thought, nah, this is the perfect opportunity. This is a test from the universe, whatever you want to call it, to see if I've really done the work on my mindset around money. And that honestly was the game changer. So by way of tip to you, my suggestion would be to look out for ways in which you can practice this. So it's all well and good saying that you're working on your mindset when you're doing a food shop, or when you are writing down that mind map of everything you've achieved and all of your wins and all the things you've gained. But it's another story when you get hit with a big expense, especially an unexpectedly big expense. But that is the game-changing point. That is when you really, really prove to yourself and your neural network that this is the path that you want to take, that you do not want to be stressed out and upset and worried about money anymore, that you recognize that there is an abundance of it and that it's simply just an energy. And so I thought, do you know what? This is a great test. I wrote down all the reasons why I was grateful for the fact that I was having to buy one. I turned it into a positive. I'd get a brand new MacBook. I actually had the money to buy one. I actually was able to get about a £200 discount. So it was only £800 or £850 in the end. And I reminded myself that I needed this, that it was something that would mean that I could do my work super well. And so it was like the ultimate training experience. And I do believe that was the turning point in my shifting my mindset around money. Something else that I noticed was around this time I was living in London, and I was walking past a street of the most beautiful houses, 3-storey Victorian terraced houses that some of them had these huge windows and you could see straight through their kitchen all the way to their garden. And I just thought, wow, that's so beautiful. And it made me think that either myself previously or other people, I've heard other people say this, would look at these houses with jealousy, thinking, I want that. And they've probably done nothing to deserve it. They've probably inherited it from their family, or the fact that they've got it means that there's one less house for me. And all of these things, we go on a spiral of lack, of feeling sorry for ourselves, of seeing ourselves as a victim, which honestly is one of the worst things you can ever do, because feeling like a victim, whilst it feels safe and we all value safety, it's also one of the least empowering things you can ever do. You empower yourself by the idea that other people will comfort you and be sympathetic. And then if there is nobody to comfort you and be sympathetic, then it increases our feeling of a victim altogether until the point where we feel absolutely rubbish and we do not want to be in that place anymore. So why go through that process? Why go through that cycle? Let's start an empowerment, and this is how I did it. Rather than being jealous of these people who have houses that I would aspire to have, I thought to myself, first of all, if they did inherit it, then it means it's just evidence that random things can happen that bring you abundance. There is unlimited opportunity and potential in any one moment, in any one day, which is why my journals come with a pen that says anything can happen on it, because that is definitely a quote that I sort of came up with that summarized this mindset around abundance in success, abundance in achievements, abundance in opportunities. Anything can happen. And that's what I reminded myself when I was looking at these houses. And then I also started thinking, well, if they live in these houses, they are such an inspiration. We're talking like £3 million plus houses. They must have done some pretty crazy stuff to be living in those kind of houses. They must be really hardworking, really creative, really good at what they do. They must be experts. The people who are in these houses and the houses themselves are really inspirational. It's not half and half. It's not that the house is inspirational and the people inside are taking something away from you. It's that the people inside caused that house to almost still be there. They caused someone to be living in that house. Therefore, they are the inspiration behind the house. What I'm seeing through looking through the window may even be their interior design creation. And so it's so inspiring. And I'm so grateful to these people for allowing me to walk through a street that is so full of abundance and so inspiring. So it's all in the way that you see things. But this takes me on to my next point and thing that you need to do if you want to change your money mindset is I did some really deep reflection on where these limiting beliefs around money had even come from. And I realized that it wasn't my fault, that it was coming from the way in which I grew up. Compared to a lot of people, I was very lucky when I was younger, but there were certain things that had been said to me that had led me to have beliefs around money, that there was a finite amount of it, that you do have to do immoral things to get it, which is just not true. I had all of these limiting beliefs. And often it comes from our parents or family members that say things about money or paint a picture of somebody as mean and horrible because they had a lot of money, which again isn't the case. There are a lot of wonderful people who have money and are doing wonderful things with it. So that is something that I used Jen Sincero's book also to help with. It's a great book because it's so funny. The way that she writes is really engaging. It's like you're listening to a friend. It's really lovely and really easy to understand. There's lots of activities in there. It was about 2 years ago now, so this is from what I remember, but I really enjoyed it and it did help. It really helped. But it helped me to ask myself questions. I also think I did a meditation or a few like really deep reflections on my life that helped me to uncover money blocks and barriers. So if you have a Google, you can probably find some, and I'd encourage you to do those. You don't need to do many, maybe one or two that ask a few different questions. And then at least you've got clarity and self-awareness on where your issues around money are coming from. And it's only when you get clarity on how something has come to be that you can then really change it. It's really taking a shot in the dark at something if you don't actually understand it. You know, if you're a doctor or a surgeon, you can't give medication or do a surgery if you don't actually have full clarity on what the problem is. So it's about getting clarity on why you're feeling the way you're feeling before you can overcome it. Otherwise, yeah, as I say, you're trying to attack something that you can't even see. One final thought and tip is give. The more you give, the more you again recognize money as an energy, as something that you give and you receive. And if you can have a homeless person come up to you asking for some money and you can give them that £5 that's in your pocket, realizing that giving them that £5 is not actually the end of the world. Like, this part of us deep inside seems to think that it is. When you reflect on how much money you've got in the bank, as long as it's not £20, you can afford to give that £5. Times are difficult for everybody, but again, if you really want to prove to yourself that money isn't evil, money is useful and can be helpful, and that by giving value we actually gain as well, then giving once a month to charity, or having some cash on you so that whenever you see somebody in need, you can give them even just £1. Consistently giving will really help your money mindset. Again, these suggestions I'm giving you are not shots in the dark. They're not just random things I've come up with for the sake of filming a video. They're things that I had to do, or I tried doing and were successful because I struggled with my own money mindset. I can't remember the things that didn't work. I can only remember the things that really, really did work. And oh no, there's another one. Another thing that I did or didn't do was I stopped checking my bank balance. I stopped checking it all the time. I'd probably check it maybe like once every other day, or well, just a few times a week I'd be checking my bank account to see how much had gone out, how much had come in. I think I even tried to budget once, and obviously we're all aware of how much we can and can't spend if we want to save or not go into debt. We're all aware of that. But like planning out what I'd spend to the penny, it's not a good idea. You're putting so much focus on it being a finite resource. You're focusing on there not being an abundance, and you're telling yourself, we need to stress about this. We need to really focus on the minute details of this because something really bad might happen, which just isn't the case. You can use your mind and your memory and your skill as a human being and as a mature, sensible person to hold in your mind the numbers of what's coming in each month, roughly, and also what you're spending. So if I feel like I've had loads of payments going out in a month, I won't buy something that I want but don't need. But if I feel like, actually, I've had quite a bit coming in, my savings are doing well, and I haven't spent money for quite a while, I've been quite conservative with my spending, I can afford to dive into the savings a little bit, and it might not even hit the savings, it might just be from what I've received in a month, to buy this new thing. So I recently bought a new bed frame. I'm so excited about my new bed frame. It's from a company called Dusk, and we've got Jordan, my partner's old bed, because we've just moved house, so we've got his bed upstairs, but it's brown and it's like faux leather, so I'm not into leather sofas. If you are, I respect that, but not for me. We also got a new sofa because again, we were moving house and the other one wouldn't fit. We've got this gorgeous grey sofa that I absolutely love. It is like, I like the standy vibe, the wood, the matte black, the white. Oh my gosh, this sun is amazing still. Can't get over it. But I knew that I hadn't really spent that much recently. And I've got some big paydays coming this month and next. So I thought, do you know what? I want to buy this bed. And then as soon as I decided and made the decision to buy it, it was reduced by almost £200. So when you make decisions, when you see things with an abundance mindset rather than a lack mindset, more abundance comes your way. And you'll find that when you're writing that list at the end of each day, it will get longer and longer and longer, because not only are you noticing more things that you are in abundance of, there's also more coming to you because you've trained your brain to want that. Remember, whatever you focus on, you get more of. Where focus goes, energy flows. Do you want energy flowing towards lack and worry and stress and anxiety? No, we don't want that. So really try and put these things into practice if you're struggling at all. I can't be any more persuasive. Is it going to help me out? No. It's only going to make me smile when you message me to say how your money mindset has really shifted. But don't set your goal to earn X amount each month this year. Don't set yourself a financial goal if you've got limiting beliefs around money or you are really struggling with your money mindset. Set your goal to be to implement all of the things that I've suggested today to read Jen Sincero's book, to write down a list of everything you've achieved at the end of the day, to do a deep dive into your limiting beliefs around money. Those 3 things. And maybe limit your checking of your bank to just once a week. Those 4 things. Those 4 things. Do those. Set those as your goal for the first month, 2 months, 3 months of 2023. And then the money will start rolling in. You don't even have to set it as a goal. It just will happen. So thank you for watching. It has been lovely chatting. I had set, obviously, recording and publishing a YouTube video a week in 2023, which meant that for some reason it meant that I couldn't record any or do any in the end of 2022, and I really missed it. I really like working on something. TikTok videos are great and they've done so much for me in terms of opportunities and helping people, but you just sit down and speak for 60 seconds, do a couple of captions and you're sorted. Which is great and it's easy, but it's not always fulfilling, especially if you get really low views because of the algorithm. So thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting my trying of YouTube. If you liked this video and this video helped and you think that you're going to go and do these things, please do give this a thumbs up. Means a lot, means more than you know. Please do subscribe if you haven't already. I'm a mindset strategist, so I give you strategies relating to your mind, and I post every single week. And click the notification bell, which will remind you every time I have posted. You can follow me on TikTok, Instagram. I've got a podcast if you want to listen to that. And you can also buy my journals. All those links are in the description box below. Thank you, and I will see you next time.